Hi, I was talking to someone this morning about a food plan and she didn't like cooking, and I thought this might be an interesting topic to share a video on, because a lot of my videos are about cooking and meal preparation. And what about those people who just have no interest in cooking, don't want to cook, just want to avoid that altogether? And this is totally possible to do if you're not into cooking. First of all, well, breakfast is pretty straightforward, you know, cereal and milk, or oats and milk doesn't require much cooking, popping in the microwave if you want to make it hot. But breakfast is pretty straightforward. And then it comes on to lunch and dinner. And let's just think about lunch, okay? So we'll have protein, carbohydrate and vegetables, basically, and a fat. So protein, without cooking, I can think of loads off the bat that don't need, you know, you could go to the supermarket and just buy something ready-made. Hummus you can buy. Cheese obviously would be a good one. Nuts, seeds, veggie burgers. This person happened to be a vegetarian, so I'm thinking along the lines of vegetarian foods. You can buy cooked meats, like cooked ham and that sort of thing. I'm not a huge fan of cooked meats because they tend to have sugars in them to preserve them and keep them moist and whatnot. But if sugar or anything ending in OSE isn't in the first 4 ingredients, I think it's okay. They wouldn't be my first choice from a nutritional point of view, but if that's the best you can do, that's okay. So there's loads of proteins that you can have, you know, ready-made, or else you can cook very simply, like, you know, scrambled egg or boiled eggs. You could easily fry, you know, a little bit of chicken to go on a salad. That doesn't require much cooking. So there's proteins. Then there's vegetables. Now there's obviously the frozen and canned vegetables. I don't mind buying frozen peas and frozen sweetcorn and frozen spinach, but I have had bad experiences with things like frozen broccoli and cauliflower. They can taste a bit weird, but I mightn't have tried all the different brands of frozen vegetables. So if you're okay with frozen vegetables, then that's perfect. Tinned, you know, sweet corn. I'm not a particular fan of tinned peas, but they are another vegetable that you get. You do get pre-cooked beetroot. If you are buying beetroot, make sure you get the beetroot that isn't full of sugar and to preserve it. I think the most jars of beetroot are pretty full of sugar. So you can get those sort of things, and obviously then there's all sorts of things that you can eat raw. You don't need to cook. You know, you got your tomatoes, peppers, carrots, cucumbers, asparagus, courgette. You can eat all these raw. Sugar snap peas, all the lettuces, avocado, celery. I think that covers most of them, but you know, there's a lot of things you can cook raw that you wouldn't need to cook with, a lot of things you can eat raw you wouldn't need to cook. Then we get on to the grains. Now you could use things like rice cakes. Oat cakes are a little bit borderline for some people, but for some people they're fine. I just have one portion as 1 ounce, like you would raw oats or something like that. And then you can also do things like cook up a batch of rice, microwave a potato, rice, potato. You could always cook up a little bit of quinoa, millet, something like that, and a batch cook it and put it in the freezer so it's there ready to go if you include a grain as part of your meal. And then there's ready-made sort of meals. You know, I just have 2 here that I had in my cupboard, but there's loads more obviously. And the thing to do with the ready meal, so this is, now full disclosure, my cousin actually makes this but she's not paying me anything to do this. But I just know that it's not full of crap. It's well made. It's a bolognese sauce. They also do a pasta sauce. But I'm reading the back of this here now. Sugar is the fifth ingredient, so that's okay. But this is like a tomato sauce just made with vegetables and a few spices and onions and stuff. And I would include that as, you could weigh out that as your veg. So if you have 6 ounces of veg, weigh that as your veg. You could just add a few chickpeas into it and serve it with a baked potato or something. So that would be a good one. That's just tomato sauce. It might be backwards on that video, okay? But there's loads of sort of tomato sauces like that would work. That would be fine. I also have this Happy Pear. It's a lentil soup. I don't tend to have soups because I find the whole measuring a little bit tricksy. But if you are hell-bent on having soups and it's the make or break for you, this is a lentil soup. There would be a way to do it. I suppose I would just go by the serving size. This is 375 grams. And I would have this as my protein and my veg portion. So maybe 6 ounces of protein and 6 ounces of veg. That would be 12 ounces. It's a little messy. That's why I don't do it. I find I just like to keep things simple. And I'm also a cook, so I can cook things up pretty simply. And the other thing I would say about doing stuff like that is if you have someone that you work with, talk to them about it, go through the options and make a decision. So say you're going to have the Happy Pear belly hug lentil soup, make it work out what works for you, and then there's no reason why it wouldn't work, as long as you knew, okay, that's a protein and a vegetable serving, and that's what I'm going to have for that meal. So there are definitely ways around not cooking. My preference would be that even if you don't cook, that you prepare things from scratch, and which is quicker and cheaper. But if you're not into that, there's ways around it. So that's my take on that on this video for that person I was talking to this morning.